Hello and welcome to the Entrepreneurial Musician from Hits Academy, a newsletter, coaching service, podcast, and blog preparing today's musicians for tomorrow's realities. Today's episode is titled, How Bill Walton Gave the World Courage. Thank you to Parker Mouthpieces for providing the hosting for TEM. Parker Mouthpieces offers fine customizable component mouthpieces for horn, trombone, euphonium, and tuba, including the Andrew Hitz Artist Model Tuba Mouthpiece. You can find out more at parkermouthpieces.com or follow them on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. By the way, Parker Mouthpieces had an announcement. They had this beautiful new. They're coming out with a whole new line. They had this beautiful new announcement that was intentionally vague. It looks awesome. It's this beautiful mouthpiece. So if you're a brass player, stay tuned. There's some exciting things coming down the pike here. All right, the TEM coaching newsletter from Hits Academy. First of all, hello to the new subscribers that have showed up within the last week or two. Last week, the most clicked on link in the Quartet of Ideas was a 1-minute read. It's really short, but my goodness, a powerful reminder of how small actions can have such a profound impact. I'm actually still thinking about that one a couple of weeks after I first discovered it. You can go to tem.fm and click on newsletter, and you can see all of the previous issues of Quartet of Ideas. And you can also sign up so that you don't miss any moving forward. I'd love to have you. Okay, how Bill Walton gave the world courage. So Bill Walton passed away yesterday from cancer, very, very tragically. He was, I saw someone write he was one of one. He was truly unique. I could describe him for 10 straight minutes without repeating myself. He was just like, he was a force as a personality, as an athlete, as an activist, as a music lover, as you'll hear. He was really special. If you don't know who he is, in 1977, he was the single best basketball player on planet Earth. He's one of the best to ever live, both at the college and professional level. And the cool thing about him is that being that good of a basketball player was not even close to the most impactful thing he did in his life. I saw someone yesterday say that being an NBA MVP and champion was essentially like his side gig, which I thought which was awesome because we you wouldn't say that cello is Yo-Yo Ma's side gig, and you wouldn't say that that basketball is Michael Jordan's side gig, but for Bill Walton it kind of was. His main impact on the world was sharing his joy with all of us in a way that encouraged, almost forced others to do the same, to find their joy and to embrace it. Walton came to mind for an episode because of his relationship with music and how much he's impacted me as a musician, even though he wasn't one himself. My friend Tyler said this yesterday online on Bill Walton. I wanted to start with this quote because it's awesome. I think the essence of Bill Walton was easy to understand. When you love something, love it with all your heart and passion, without reservation or worrying what anyone else thinks. I think he got everything out of life that he could, left nothing on the table. To me, that's a life well lived. I replied to that post on Mastodon, said, like, that's the whole game right there. That's it. Like, love what you love. Don't worry what anybody else says, thinks, feels about that. And that's really living life. But as I'm going to talk about in just a minute, it takes a lot of courage to live that way. And that's why it's just such a gift that he showed us. So in terms of his relationship to music, Bill Walton saw over 1,000 Grateful Dead shows and spoke really eloquently, not just about the Dead, who were definitely his favorite band, but about music. He said, quote, music is critical in our lives and culture. It's the inspiration that drives us. It's also the window to our souls. It's a reflection as to who we are, what we stand for, and where we're going. That's just awesome. When he saw Grateful Dead shows, the guy's like 7'3". I mean, he's just a giant. I'm 6'4", and I will see somebody that's as tall as me walk in a room like, wow, that dude's tall. I'm like, wait, that dude's as tall as me. Bill Walton was almost a foot taller than me. When he saw Grateful Dead shows, he towered over everyone else there. You could watch him dancing from literally the other side of an arena or of a football stadium, and he didn't care. The music moved him, and he just let it rip. He had the courage to enjoy what he enjoyed without worrying about what anyone else thought about it or their opinion. It takes courage to dance when everyone is watching you. And in his case, photographing and filming him, because he was always up front, he was friends with the band. It was a spectacle. It also takes courage to stand out in the music business and to do something different. Now, I would not be taking Bill Walton's joy of the Grateful Dead's music the day after he passed away, and then like turning that into a business podcast. If the purpose of this podcast was to help you to squeeze 3% more value as a venture capitalist out of some company that you've purchased, that you've acquired, and that you're just slowly destroying to extract all value out of it. I have a feeling, and I certainly never had the privilege of meeting Mr. Walton, but I have a feeling that he would be totally fine with me applying all this in a business context 24 hours after he passed away, because this is about music, and this is about, like, the music business is how we get our music, how we get our art, how we get our windows into our souls, as he put it, out there into the world. And you got to make a living to be able to do that, unless you're a trust fund kid. And if you are, please just do well with it. Do good, right? Not do well, do good in the world. And there's zero hard feelings here. But it takes courage to stand out in the music business, to be different, or to do the same thing in a different way, or deliver the same thing but to different people. You get the point. When you stick with the regular kind, and you fail, because of blending in, then you can just blame the music business. But take a big risk and it doesn't work out, that's on you. That's scary, but he showed us that it doesn't have to be, that being yourself and raising your hand doesn't have to be scary. He also talked a lot about the importance of being resilient. Quote, life is easy when you're hot, but what happens when the ball bounces the other way? You just keep getting back up and climbing up. After being named NBA MVP and winning his championship back in 1977, he was on top of the world. The season after winning the MVP, he had injuries. The guy had over 30 surgeries in his life. That's how he's one of the most injured athletes in the history of at least American professional sports, if not the world. I'm just not familiar enough to be able to state that definitively. The season after he was the MVP, he missed 68 out of the 82 games. He played a total of 14 games. That's it. The season after that, he missed 49 more games. He missed 117 games out of the 164, the 2 seasons after he was on top of the world. And he, in fact, battled injuries for the entire rest of his career. But he always had the courage to deal with the setbacks as just that and to keep going. Even people like me, who have hit the lottery on top of hitting the lottery in the music business. And I don't say that to say, like, I've accomplished a lot. No, it's to say, yeah, I've accomplished a lot. And I chose to word that in a very intentionally by hitting the lottery. And I've worked my ass off, but a lot of it's just been luck and being in the right place at the right time, etc. The reason I'm pointing this out is because even people like me who have really gotten to do a lot and fulfilled a lot of our dreams, we have setbacks and frustrations and disappointments. It is the nature of the business. And to me, the goal here is not getting upset, right? It's not having these setbacks and frustrations happen and being so amazingly in tune with yourself and with the world to just never get upset. The way I like to say it is that I'm not responsible for my first thought, but I am responsible for my second thought. So the question is, like, how long am I going to stay upset? Someone like Bill Walton showed that it is okay to feel the emotions of a setback when it happens, but that the goal is moving forward as quickly as you possibly can. When I was playing so many international gigs with Boston Brass that I had to send my passport in to get more pages, and there's 2 options, by the way. There's like add more pages or add a whole bunch more pages because I'm traveling a lot. And I went with the option 2, which is add a whole bunch more pages option. And I still almost ran out of room. I almost had to get like a brand new passport because they will not put pages in twice. I was close. I was on top of the world, right? But then, fast forward a bunch of years later, when my gigs were really, really slow to come back after we started emerging from the pandemic, even though I saw others getting back to normal faster than me, that was hard. That was really hard. But with the help of my support network, I persevered. The point is that even millionaires like Bill Walton and celebrities, it's easy for those people. It's easy for all of us when you're on top, but our true character shows when we are struggling. That leads beautifully into another Bill Walton quote I wanted to share with you, which that gives me courage, which is, quote, at 49, which as I record this, I'm 2.5 months away from. At 49, I can say something I never would have said when I was a player, that I'm a better person because of my failures and disgraces. Bill Walton went further than simply pointing out that it's all about how we bounce back. He admitted that he was actually a better person because of his failures and disgraces. Not in spite of them, because of them. And that sounds like a minor distinction. That's a massive, massive distinction. So if your failures will actually make you stronger, what is your excuse for not having the courage to raise your hand and just go for it? It's still understandable because having courage sure can feel harder than just keeping your head down. In fact, I would argue it's always harder than just keeping your head down. But someone like Bill Walton sure takes my excuse away for not having the courage, because worst case scenario, I will learn from failing and will end up a better person as a result. So rationally, the only rational decision, that was really that was so articulate. But the only rational decision is to raise my hand and to have the courage and to speak up, because it's either going to work out or I'm going to be a better person. End of discussion. It also feels a lot better, and I don't have trouble sleeping at night knowing that I should be doing more courageous things. In closing, I really should say that Bill Walton gave the world its courage back. Any child that is born with its basic needs met is born with courage. Obviously, children that don't have enough food or shelter or don't feel safe, that's a whole nother topic. Any child that checks those vital boxes is born with courage. We try to speak with reckless abandon. Like we try with reckless abandon to speak, is what I meant to say. Ironic that I'm talking about speaking and I'm misspeaking. Anyway, as I was saying, even though we sound silly, right? When we're a newborn, we sound silly, and the results aren't there, which we can tell at that age because we are communicating and people are not getting what we're saying because we're not actually saying the words because we don't know the words yet. But we just keep trying. There's no filter, right? Total tangent. Stephen Wright, the comedian, who, if you don't know who Stephen Wright is, please stop this. I don't even care if you come back to hear the last like a few minutes of this episode, because this is not as good as Stephen Wright. Just a brilliant, brilliant comedian. I was watching one of his comedy specials from the '80s the other day, and he said, I recently found my baby diary. Day 1, still tired from the move. Day 2, everyone is talking to me like I'm an idiot. I was dying of laughter. Oh my goodness. Anyway, more courage. We fall down hundreds of times before we successfully walk, and we don't ever get frustrated because we have the courage to keep trying. That comes from knowing that we will eventually get it. I have heard some people describe the trait that I can't do this yet, but I know I can figure it out as a superpower. We all have the courage that comes from having that superpower when we were a kid. Almost all of us walk into preschool with way more courage than we walk into 7th grade with, right? The problem is that society and life beat that courage out of us, like ruthlessly. We learn that it is, quote, safer to not have courage and to be pleasantly surprised when things end up working out because we end up having to or being forced to put ourselves out there. That's baloney. People like Bill Walton are heroes because they're heroes simply by being who they are. And that's what gives us our courage back. They don't tell us, they show us. I've learned a lot from people telling me. I learn a lot quicker by people actually just showing me. Okay. So he is so dearly missed. And I can tell you this, that he was such a huge part of my childhood. He was a member of the 85-86 Celtics, which I have a vivid memory of my father, which I'll share with you. I hadn't planned on sharing this, but I will. He was a huge Celtics fan, and we watched games all the time together. And my dad stopped me during that season at one point when the Celtics were just destroying someone. And he said, Drew, which my family calls me still to this day, he said, Drew, he said, you need to pay attention because you may never see team basketball played at this level ever again. And Bill Walton was a big part of that. So him passing yesterday had me up in my feels quite a bit for him, for my dad. But it's bittersweet because my childhood was pretty amazing, and that's why I miss it so much. All right, this week's quote is actually from Bill Walton. I got one more, and I think it's good. It just bookends with the rest of these. When everybody thinks alike, nobody thinks. Raise your hand, stand out, act courageously, even if you don't think it's in you, because it is. I promise you, the world needs you, and you've got this. Thank you so much for listening, for watching, for subscribing, for sending this to a friend if they need to hear it. As I've always said, you can send it to an enemy if they need to hear it. I don't care. Anyway, you are very appreciated, and that is going to do it for another episode of The Entrepreneurial Musician.